And Delta Property Fund released its interim results today, largely flat with interim distribution at 46 cents per share. But Delta is hoping that the new leasing policy by the Department of Public Works, which is in its final stages of approval, will change the company's fortunes. Sandile Nomvete is the CEO of Delta Property Fund. He joined Fifi Peters earlier to discuss the public sector and what that could mean for the fund.
There's two ways that the board looked at it. We sold our UK assets just before Brexit, and I think we're of the view that we sold just at the right time, because subsequently property values have come off significantly in the UK. That was, obviously not core to us. I think whilst it was quasi-government, it was two assets that had local government buildings in the UK. It was not adding too much of an impetus. The swaps, I think, is a matter of pricing. It goes back to our lease expiry profile that we have. Banks take a dim view on the short lease expiry profile. And that's why we've been engaging not only with the Department of Public Works but National Treasury to make sure that they bring back long-term leases, because it's a knock-on effect. If we as landlords are getting long-term leases, we can invest more in the CBDs, which obviously stimulates the economy. So we are at pains to draw this out to not only our tenant, National Department of Public Works, but to our colleagues at National Treasury as well. I'm glad to say that I think we are finding they are listening, and hopefully we can see more positive news as they head off into February, into the main budget speech.
All right. And before we actually break down that main budget speech, I see that you have concluded new swap contracts, more expensive swap contracts, longer term. So tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah, I think that's again, what we're trying to do as a management team is to try and mitigate risk. So part of the risk is, if your debt is too short, that means it can spike up too much, and that gives investors very, very uncertain. So the reason why we've basically signed those swaps for a longer period is to give certainty to shareholders about the level or the cost of our debt going forward, particularly if there's talk of a sovereign downgrade that may obviously impact our costing. And it's something that is obviously, as you would have seen from our results, 75.6%, 75.9% of our income comes from sovereign underpinned, or from government or state-owned enterprises, government departments, local government. So government plays a big has a big say in terms of what our business or the health of our business looks like.
And in terms of a government's big role to your portfolio, I mean, what was your perception of the budget delivered by the Finance Minister last week?
I think it was factual. I think we're obviously seeing it that from a rental income perspective, we've seen rentals come off significantly from when Delta listed some 5 years ago now. And I think we've played our part as Delta, so definitely government is looking to save costs at all avenues. And, I think one of the proposals that we have before DPW at the moment is for 243,000 square meters, whereby we have said to them, if you give us a 10-year lease, we can give you a rental at this rate. But if you only give us a 5-year lease, it will be slightly higher. If you give us a 3-year, it will be slightly higher. So we've definitely given them an incentive to give us certainty in terms of our income, and we can then give them some savings, up to as much as 20% on our rent bill, to basically try and meet them halfway through with regards to the austerity measures that the Minister of Finance announced.
All right, so that sounds like a little bit of a win-win deal. But Sandile, you didn't make any acquisitions this time around. You are saying in your forward guidance that you are looking for value accretive assets going forward. Have you spotted any yet?
We're in discussions. I think the thinking there is that once we have raised the close to 5 billion rand in the BE transaction, as a property fund, we obviously cannot sit with too much cash on our balance sheet. So we have basically identified plus minus 3 billion rands worth of acquisitions at this particular time at pretty good yields, which will be yield accretive to shareholders. What that will also do is potentially take the company back into the SAPI index, which is obviously very, very important for the index tracker funds that track the index. So we have a plan for the capital, and I think part of those funds will obviously go to the capex I spoke about earlier as well.
And that's where we leave it for Business Tonight this evening. CNBC Africa returns with Business Tonight, West Africa.